gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
The child survives, but survival is not the same as escape. Long after the footsteps fade and the doors stop slamming, the body remembers every shadow, every breath held too long in the dark. What the world calls the past still walks beside them like a quiet storm no one else can see. They grow older, taller, stronger, yet the echoes remain stitched into the fabric of who they are. Some days the memories arrive like lightning, sudden and violent, and other days they settle like fog that never fully lifts. The survivor learns to smile in daylight while carrying a midnight sky inside their chest. But buried beneath the wreckage is something stubborn and luminous that refuses to die. Every scar becomes a strange kind of compass, pointing not just to where the pain began, but to where the strength that followed it came from. And in the quiet moments between breaths, the survivor realizes the most astonishing truth of all. They are still here. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Falaise, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. On this episode, I have the favorite guest of the podcast, one of my very best friends in the world.
It pains you to say that.
Oh, well, after the comment that you made right before recording, I mean, come on. I'm getting my chops busted over here. And that's Sherrie Allsup. And tonight we're going to talk about the suffering of a survivor. Because when you first came in here, I heard you call yourself victim over and over and over again. And at some point that changed, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. But thank you for coming all this way.
I would go to the moon to sit down across the table from you.
Well, you know, we get to see, we haven't worked in a couple months, and we get to see each other next month in New Mexico.
It's time to hit the pavement again.
Yeah, and I miss it. I miss it.
Too.
I miss
Hard.
I miss our ebb and flow. And the interaction with the audience, and it's one of the greatest joys in my life that I have to give all to you. All the thanks and all the praise goes to you for bringing me into this strange world that you got.
Listen, I thought I was doing good before you came along, but you were the missing piece, and now it's fun and it's unpredictable, and you make people laugh at inappropriate times, and we lose control of our class, and it's a great time.
We reel it back in, but I'm going to tell you one thing we're going to start doing in 2026. We're going to get a dash cam for when we have to drive these long distances to these places, and we're going to throw that out as content just so we can show everybody what travel is like and some of the conversations that we have that go nowhere.
Great idea. We shouldn't keep all that to ourselves.
Before we get into this whole story, because this one's going to be a good one, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police. We certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. Let them find you a car, but don't forget to tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. So, Sherrie, this is number 3 for you. You're in the 3-timers club. You're not at the De Palma and Crudella.
This is 4.
Oh my God, that's right, with Gary.
Yes,
with
and
Gary and Tricia. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is 4 times. One more and you'll be in the 5-timers club. All right, that's a big deal.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, there's T-shirts involved in that.
Oh, yay.
This week's social media question comes from Canton Fitz. Can you be friends with someone who doesn't share your ideas and your values? You know, we too often in our life, we just align ourselves with people who think like us and are going to agree with us, and we try to shy away from. You see this in the news media all the time. You know, certain news medias are left and certain news medias are right, and the people that they have on they're just yesing each other to death because they can't listen to the other side. But can you do that?
I try to be friends with anyone. People in the grocery store come up to me, and strangers, and tell me their life story, and I don't know why. It makes my girls crazy. They say, Mom, why do people do that? So I try to be kind and friends to everyone, and I think I can be friends if let's say our political views don't align, unless you're just a mean, ugly person, and then I have to set boundaries, and I'll be kind to you, but I don't need you in my circle, and you certainly wouldn't be someone I would trust, but I will always try to be kind.
So what about, I know you're a woman of faith, okay, what about if a stone cold atheist comes up to you and you happen to get involved in a conversation about the afterlife, whatever they do or don't believe in, or somebody of a different faith, do you think you could align with them on some level, find some sort of common ground?
I would hope to find a common ground so that I could have a chance to witness to them. That would be my goal.
Yeah, that's what we're called to do, right? And some of the biggest atheists in the world become the biggest Christians in
That's
the world.
right.
C.S. Lewis, who was like the godfather of Christian theological writing, he was a stone cold atheist. I'm watching this with Jordan Peterson, who I admire immensely. Jordan Peterson was an atheist who is finding I'm watching it in real time, and it's wonderful to watch, who is finding his path. I'm watching Joe Rogan do it. He's finding his path. And if you sit back and you watch this play, take each act of this different play, it's really amazing to watch.
And someone had to be brave enough and take the time to just drop a few words.
You know who did it to Joe Rogan?
I do not.
Kid Rock.
Interesting.
Kid Rock goes, they're having a discussion about Jesus, and he goes, do you want to meet him? I'll take you to meet him. And that's what he said to Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan's sort of like, what are you talking about? It was Kid Rock, okay? The epitome of a rock star.
Party.
Of a party rock star. He's a man of faith. So it's amazing the way that happens. For me, I thrive on people who do not share my views. I do. I absolutely, and I have a lot of friends who sit on absolutely the other side of the aisle. Where I find common ground with them is discussion. Where I can't be friends with somebody if you're unwilling to open your mind a little bit to even have a discussion. I have my views, you have your views. They don't have to align, but we should be able to sit here and pound out a piece of iron in the middle of this table.
Absolutely.
In order to refine it. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to refine it and find the truth. You have a little bit of the truth. I have a little bit of the truth. And if we come together, maybe we'll have more of the truth. So when I see somebody with an opposing point of view, I get curious. I want to know why you think the way that you do. Is it because of reality? Is it because of a piece of information that I don't have? Is it on false information? So I thrive and I seek those people out, because being agreed with all the time, having that little toady around it's saying yes to you, it's no fun.
How boring.
There's been people around me and they're just like, yes me to death. And it's like, and I'll just start breaking their chops because how do you respect somebody who just agrees with you all the time?
You and I don't agree all the time.
Nope.
And we spend hours together.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't work if we agreed. We would be stagnant instead of growing.
But I find stuff. So if you the one thing is, if you come at me with an opposing point of view, you better come at me with facts. Okay. If you come at me with facts, I will listen to you and I will go, you know what? I never saw it that way. And it's happened several times because, there's only one belief that I have. The rest of the stuff I have is opinions. There's only one belief, and that's my belief in God. The rest of my stuff is opinions, and it's fact-based opinion. It's okay. Here's my opinion based on A, B, C, and D. But I'm also willing to say, hey, not all my facts are correct. I find new stuff out all the time. Hey, listen, when I was 20 years old, I was the smartest guy in the world. When I was 13, I was super smart. And when I turned 20, I realized how stupid I was at 13. And every 5 years, I would reevaluate and realize how stupid I was 5 years earlier and at that particular moment, I'm like, I got it all figured out. Well,
I'm good now.
About 40 years old, I figured out I don't have anything figured out. So I got better open my mind.
I think a diverse group of friends and acquaintances is really healthy.
Until you have my group of friends. They're just from all different walks of life. And
they're diverse.
Yeah, one of them, it's like a constant running gay joke, and the other one wants to rip somebody's head. But listen, we all know who we're talking about. And the other one, the other one just wants to tear people's ears off. He's like the Incredible Hulk. He just smashes.
And then there's our sweet friend Dorothy.
Yeah, she's like,
everybody wants to be
I've
her
never
best friend.
met anybody like her because there's no ulterior motive behind it. And in my life, and that's a good point, because in my life, anybody who's ever been nice to me, there's an ulterior motive.
Absolutely.
So it makes me super suspicious, and it's not something that I'm used to. I'm trying to get used to it. I'm trying to take it at face value, but it's hard.
She wanted to pick me up at the hotel today at Newark. And I don't know how far that is. 30 miles? I don't really know.
Probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on traffic.
And I said, absolutely not. I can take an Uber. I take Uber all the time. And she just wasn't having it. And I was very uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, she's going to be in traffic and she's going to use her gas, and she's a busy woman. And then she sends me a text and says, I'm going to do a Starbucks run for you. Oh my Lord, you can't pick me up and bring me Starbucks. That's too much.
Has she not been reading the news about the Strait of Hormuz and the oil embargo and all that stuff? Gas is going up. It's expensive.
Oh, I know.
You know, nothing's for free. Gas, grass, or ass. Nobody rides for free. But so that non-transactional, relationship is something that's very foreign to me, and it's something I'm probably sure that you're not used to as well. But Gary's like that, though.
Oh, he is.
That son of a bitch makes all the rest of us look bad.
Yeah, he is. He's like that a lot.
Canton Fitz, thank you so much for sending that question, and keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. So, Sherrie, you've been here at episode 169. I think the second and third time. Wait, hold on. So you were here at 169. The second and third time you were on was 229 and 230, or 230 and 231.
Yes.
And this is episode 280. Wow,
look at you.
Yeah. I'm like Rain Man. Yeah, it's definitely 280. It's definitely 280. You saw Rain Man.
Definitely not your underwear.
You saw Rain Man. Oh my God. We now have a conversation because Sherrie is the one woman who has seen like 2 movies.
I haven't seen Rain Man.
Rain Man. Oh my gosh. So, I'm like Rain Man.
I'm a very good driver.
You throw toothpicks on here, I'll count them all. I'll count every single one of them. Why don't you give our audience, for those people who haven't watched those episodes, just a brief recap of your story? And I know it's hard to encapsulate. We've done it in an hour and a half, and that was hard.
Yeah.
But just to encapsulate what you went through.
Well, Gary says I can't introduce myself in an hour, so and he's probably right. I can't. I grew up in a horribly abusive home, mentally, verbally, emotionally, physically, sexually. And my life was brutal. And because of the fallout from that, I suffer with lots of mental health issues, lots of physical health issues, all as a result of my trauma. And it's a really bad story. But the good thing is it has a really great ending. And I refuse anymore to let that trauma define me. So if you want to hear the whole story, you have to go back to episode 169. And then you'll hear that story. But I will tell you that so much of my life has changed since episode 169. And I look back and I'm shocked.
It was March of 2024 when you were in here first. And I've watched, in just that short time, I have watched you change.
Interactions with sexual assault victims are on the rise. Yet training remains scarce.
Every day, someone finds the courage to say the words they've been holding in for years.
And every day, someone is standing on the other side of that moment. The question is,
will they know what to do next?
Trauma doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't look like the way we expect.
It doesn't respond to force. It responds to understanding.
Sherrie Allsup, survivor turned global trauma expert.
Kevin Donaldson, retired law enforcement leader and advocate for real change. Together, we bridge a gap most people never see.
We train officers. We educate communities.
We change how first responders listen, question, and lead. Because the first response can shape a lifetime.
This isn't a theory.
This is lived experience meeting leadership. And when compassion replaces confusion, healing begins.
Sherrie Allsup and Kevin Donaldson, changing the way we respond so survivors are heard.
I've heard your story many times because, people who want to hear your story just come out to one of our classes. We're all over the country.
That's right. You can be our guest.
Yes, but, I've watched you change, I've watched you grow, and I've watched you evolve. There's one story in particular, and this, I was working with you for probably a year, and you just threw out this story in class one day. And I'm, usually when you're doing stuff, I'm doing clerical stuff, I'm writing stuff, I'm doing whatever I got to do. Because I've heard your story. It's not trying to be rude to you, but I've heard your story, and I'm listening, but I'm not listening.
Well, and for people that haven't been in our class, the first I think I take about an hour and a half to tell my story. Then we take a break because it's heavy. And then Kevin takes an hour and a half to tell his story. So I could tell Kevin's story and he could tell mine. So when he's not being rude, he's just doing, because his brain doesn't stop, working on other things.
But I remember I'm sitting there, and I think, God, I can't remember where it was that you said it, but you came out with something new, something that happened to you, but something that I had never heard before. And
It was about my uncle, wasn't it?
well, that was one, but the other one was in the truck.
Oh,
The
yes.
story about in the
Yeah.
truck,
And I
which
don't tell that story.
is a story that is told in our new book that's coming out probably September. It's in the editor's hands, A Life Unfolding. So everybody's going to be able to hear it or read it. But the thing of that is I remember writing, and you have this way of grabbing people, and it was a part I never heard, and I remember it just snapped up, and you had my complete attention, as if I heard. It's the same way you had my attention when you were in here in episode 169. I couldn't stop. I couldn't take my eyes off of you when you were telling this. It was an amazing moment. And I've watched that, right? I've watched you grow in your comfort and bring those different stories out, because I think if you were to tell your entire life, it probably like 4 or 5 days worth of horrific stories.
Yes. But I attribute a lot of that to you because we've worked together so much, I know that if I lose my place or fall on my face or have to leave the room because I tell a story I haven't ever told before, without a doubt, you're going to jump up and you're going to take the class over. Or if I fall flat on my face, you're going to say, we're going to take a break and we'll be back. So there's been great comfort and courage in knowing that there's someone there that's got my back. And that's very empowering.
Well, you were doing this without a safety net. I mean, listen, I may be a little bit of a safety net for you because I can pick that stuff
Very
up if I
much.
need to. You did this for 10 years. You're an overnight success that's 10 years in the making. I love that quote. You've been doing this for 10 years without that safety net, and you survived, and that had to be scary as hell.
And it was different. I kept things very orderly, very neat and tidy, very close. I knew how far I was going to push myself and what I was going to let come out. But since I've been working with you, this is our 3rd year, it's okay. And I find myself pushing the envelope just a little more and a little more.
And it plays well. So one of the things that Sherrie and I do after class, is, especially when something new comes out, or we're doing a new exercise or something of that we'll talk about it afterwards. They're like, what do you think? What can we do better? We're constantly refining that.
And I love that.
To try to figure that stuff out. We can use this in here. And we're at the point right now where 8-hour classes is it's just not enough.
We have to talk so fast. And the fact that it needs to be 16 hours absolutely blows my mind. That we could stand and talk about this topic, this heavy, heavy topic, for 16 hours.
So going back to your story and the way your life unfolded, okay, to use a nice reference, the way
That'd make a really good book.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think I'd read that. But the way your life unfolded, you were first a victim, and let's define victim. Like, what did you see? If I had asked the 20-year-old Sherrie or the 35-year-old Sherrie what a victim was, do you think you could define that?
I was stuck in my own mental health. I was stuck in my trauma. I was stuck in a life that there was not a way out. I didn't know how to get out of my mental health crisis and find healing. I certainly didn't know how to talk about my story.
Well, did you see it as a weakness?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, I remember telling my very first therapist, I am the weakest person. Or she said to me, Sherrie, you are the strongest person I know. And I said, no, I am the weakest person that I know. And that's what I believed, because if I was strong, I could have survived this tornado of a life that I lived for 18 years. But you can't, I know now you can't come out of that unscathed.
Before you openly started talking about your story, like, what was it to you? Like, how did you view your past? Is it something that you wanted to bury, or is it something?
Absolutely.
But you can't bury the Titanic.
Well, for one, the first thing, I believed I was the only person in the world. Never in a million years did it enter my mind that there was any other incest survivor in the world. I truly believed I was the only one. So I was already on an island because I didn't know there was anybody else. Certainly couldn't talk about it. A survivor is conditioned by their perpetrator. Very, very good. We've talked about some of the grooming.
Well, I think at this point in your life, you're a victim.
Oh,
in
very much.
In my opinion, you're not a
Yes.
survivor yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And still living with those old tapes playing in my head, still being scared, terrified, scared. I know I'm dumb, stupid, worthless, ugly, and fat because that's all I've been told my whole life. So I lived within those confines of what I was told and who I was, and I wouldn't dare try something new or drive to a new city or go to the beach by myself. I couldn't do any of that. I had to be in my house where it was safe, and the fact that I now get on a plane by myself and fly all over the world is, if I look back, that's crazy.
And you are the master at airplanes, especially travel.
Not flying them yet, but
No, not flying them yet, but as far as booking them, oh my God. So just a quick aside. Where the heck were we? We were in...
we were in a little bitty plane. I was in a little bit. Were we in Gatlinburg?
I think we were in Gatlinburg, and we were in Baton Rouge Airport.
No, that wouldn't work.
No, that wasn't it. But wherever we were, my plane kept getting delayed. Sherrie was going on a different plane. You're going home, and I'm starting to panic because I got a connection. I'm going to miss my connection, and I'm starting to panic, and I don't do well.
Mr. Control Freak.
I don't do well when this stuff's happening, and I don't know what to do. And you're on the plane, and my savior, you actually booked me on another flight that I literally had to get my luggage just transferred, and it was as your plane's taking off, you're doing it.
And I'm thinking, just let me hold cell service long enough to book this flight for Kevin.
Holy cow. Like so as much as you think that doing this stuff is because doing this stuff the way you do it now is because of me, you understand this stuff. It's a mutually assured destruction type of relationship. I could not do what you do. I can't. I've tried. I'll book myself in where to put the luggage. That's where I'll book myself.
But look, you went to Clovis. You had a lot of issues, and you did it. You might not want to do it again.
I did not treat people very well when I was in Dallas-Fort Worth Airport.
Well, we'll work on that.
I did not, and I'm ashamed to say, and I owe some people some apologies. Maybe not some, because they were very unsympathetic to my plight. But I got to be honest with you, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that stuff. It's awful.
Well, you do the social media part, and I'll do the travel part.
No problem. Absolutely, all day long. So I'll whip that out in a second. So when your story, like throughout your 20s, when you're holding this stuff in, what is it? Number one, what is it doing to you physically? But also, what does it feel like? Is it just this deep, dark secret that you're never letting out?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I'm trying to raise babies, and I'm mentally unstable, but I had this perfect mask, well, what I thought was perfect, of doing everything right and being the PTA mom and being the Little League mom and raising babies and teaching Sunday school. And so as long as I could stay very, very busy, then I didn't have to, there was no time to think. And that's what I did. And I tried to raise my babies to the best of my ability. And, I look back now and think, I probably screwed a lot of that up.
Do you know one particular time that you can think of where you believe that you screwed up in relation to your kids? Because I got to tell you, as parents, I make mistakes constantly. I thought it would be funny. I clunked my kids' heads together, and I really hurt them. I did like a Three Stooges move, boom, and I was like, oh my God, and they're both crying, and
Oh my God!
oh, it was horrible. I felt so bad. I was just trying to give them a little tap, and they kind of leaned into it, and it happened.
No, just thinking, I wish I could have been. Well, I was present, but maybe I wasn't emotionally as attached. But my kids and I they're grown now and I have grandbabies. We're very, very close. So they've offered me so much grace and watched me walk out my healing journey. And I'm not anywhere near the same person. But I laugh at Gary a lot of times too and say, "You told me you loved me when we got married, and I am so far from that girl when I married you. I don't know how you love me now, because I'm two different people." So people have offered me lots of grace.
You know, I've met two of your kids. I've met Sarah and Lexi, and they seem like wonderful, well-adjusted kids. But what a positive thing as a blueprint to parents who have screwed up. Because here's the one truism that every parent's going to realize: I will eventually make a mistake when it comes to my kids. No parent is perfect. But if your kids, as they get older and more mentally mature, to understand the mistakes that you make, they'll more than likely give you some grace, give you some room in order to heal and do the work in order to repair whatever was going on. And I think that's what you did with your kids. I'm not 100% certain, but
Yes.
listen, I've spoken to two of them. Sarah I speak to more than Lexi, but every once in a while I'll get a message from Lexi.
Well, she doesn't like to work with us in Louisiana because it makes her very nervous, but she doesn't have a choice.
You put me in a car with her for 2 hours, some stranger.
I know, and she's anxiety ridden.
Some stranger, and she's just like white knuckling it down the road, and I'm looking for alligators, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Listening to country music.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. That's not. But the second time I met Lexi, and when we were in Louisiana, it was a much different atmosphere. She was much more relaxed, so she understood a lot more, I think.
And she's high anxiety in general. So she wasn't supposed to be alone with you. Well, I don't mean that like that. Sounded all kinds of wrong. My flight got canceled, and then I had to drive.
You had to drive. That's
Yes.
right.
So that's why it ended up just being you and Lexi.
And that was the first time I went out with you.
And that was, yes, and the first time you met Lexi. And
Yeah.
And you did fabulous, by the way, in front of your peers. And I'm so proud of you. Gosh, talking about moving from victim to survivor and thriver. And I hope you can look at your own life in the past 2 years, and see the strides that you've made.
The battles we fight are hard and taxing on the soul. Fighting a battle that seems impossible to win. The stressful calls that give us wounds that cannot be seen.
These moments leave scars. They leave dents. Sometimes we just need to sit and talk over coffee.
Finding a moment of peace in the comfort of decompression with those whom you share difficulties. Sharing moments with those who are the only ones who understand. Our peace comes in the quiet moments we can share with our brothers and sisters.
It's just a moment to sit, listen, and let it out. We may be dented, but we are not broken. The Suffering Podcast. Dented Ace Coffee was created to bring the peace to the protectors. Dented Ace Coffee is a tribute to my brother Mike Falaise and all the others who couldn't find their peace. 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Dented Development Project so that we can begin to repair the dents caused by suffering in veterans, first responders, and their families. The Suffering Podcast's Dented Ace Coffee. Get yours today by visiting thesufferingpodcast.com.
In a lot of ways, it was very anxiety ridden. Okay, to talk about the stuff that we talk about in our classes with childhood sexual assault, it's a hard thing to hold up for the rest of your life. You know, I was given the blessing of doing one of the sermons in my church, right? And one of the things I did was, so take this cup. And I asked the audience, I said, how much do you think this cup weighs? And people are throwing out answers. And first, they don't say anything because nobody wants to put their hand up. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and hold this because this is class participation time. And I'm holding this cup up, and I was like, well, how much do you think this cup weighs? And, 12 ounces, 14 ounces. I said, here's the thing. It really doesn't matter how much it weighs. It could weigh 6 ounces. If I hold this up for a couple minutes, it's no big deal. If I hold this up for an hour, I'm going to feel it. If I hold it up for a day, my arm's going to be numb. But if I hold it up for a lifetime, I'm not going to be able to do anything with this arm. And our trauma, our past trauma is a lot like that. But here's the scary thing. The scary thing is all along, we had every tool that we needed in order to drop our trauma, but it's one of the most difficult things in the world, and it's so simple. All I had to do was put the glass down.
Yeah, but we had 100 reasons not to.
Correct. So when I came out to Louisiana the first time, I jumped off of that cliff and said, you know what? I'm going to put the glass down. And that's what it was. And
in front of your peers, though, that's the part that just...
Yeah, but they're Southern people. They're not my peers. I'm a Northerner.
Law enforcement peers. And you just, like you'd been doing it for years.
It was refreshing. It was scary at first, but it was refreshing because all that pain and all that trauma that I had been holding on to for years since I started to have more and more recall, and more recall has come out as I've done this stuff. It was like I was holding up that weight. It was like I'm in the gym and I got a barbell on my back and I've had it on there for 50 years and I dropped the barbell and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty light. And there was a huge weight lifted off of me. And never in a million years did I think I was going to go back out with you. I thought I was one and done. Okay, I'm just like the first time I told you after 169 when I told you, all right, I did it. I checked that box. I don't have to do it. Hey, Sherrie, listen, I'm having nightmares. I can't take this no more. But for you, like that was my moment. Louisiana, I can pinpoint my moment when that switch flipped, where I was no longer a victim and I was a survivor. I was starting to turn the channel towards the survivor. Jeff Probst wasn't there, unfortunately. Another reference you're just not going to get, so don't worry about it. What was that moment for you that the switch flipped?
I think after my failed suicide attempt, I knew that I was going to take my power back. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew I was going to take it back for once and for all. So that's when I started in EMDR therapy and spent a long time in there. And it's, if you're not familiar, it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's crazy and it looks like chicken voodoo, but I promise you it works fabulous. So I did that for several months and realized that I could work through some of these things that I couldn't unravel on my own. And then it was a very slow process. I slowly started, but at that point in my life, other than my mother, my sister, my children's father, and Gary, nobody knew. And I was 51, I think. 52. So I had to go back and be willing to open that up. I couldn't heal and stay silent. I knew I was going to have to talk about it and start working through it. And so that's what I did. And then, I didn't set out to be this grandiose speaker. Not that I'm all that, but I did that. I didn't set out to do that. And if somebody would have told me 15 years ago, you're going to be standing on the stage in front of hundreds of people telling your deepest, darkest secrets, I'd have said, yeah, right. And I'm going to fly a plane too. But it's so empowering. And it's where I feel the freest.
There's exhaustion that comes afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
We'll sit at dinner after we do a class, and there's not a whole lot being talked about. We're just sort of sitting there in our food and eating and,
hoping we can stay awake until we get back to our room.
And get back to your hotel room, fall into bed, and just wake up in the morning, usually for a 3 a.m. flight.
Yeah. Because we've lived on adrenaline for 10 hours, telling your story. All this adrenaline is, you're hyped up again. And then when you stop, I've got about 45 minutes before the bottom drops completely out. And so when we're done and when the people have left, which, people stay and they want to talk to us, then it's just get something to eat. I know people think it's glamorous that we have travel.
No.
It's not glamorous.
I just saw something today, like things people think are exciting, but they don't know. And one of them was travel. It's like sitting in airports, renting a car, driving through the desert in California with nothing. It looks like a Wile E. Coyote movie, and there's one line on the GPS. There's not even rivers or anything. There's nothing. In the middle of nowhere, or going out to Parker, Arizona from, where did we fly in? Las Vegas.
Yes.
Where it's just so dark because you can't see. You're like, oh, okay. Although my last trip out to Texas, in West Texas, I got to see the Allsup convenience stores.
Oh,
I took a nice picture for you.
that's the funniest thing.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening in Texas, Allsups, you are looking at an Allsup right here.
New Mexico. Gary likes to buy all their mugs because they have his name on them. So
I'm eating hard-boiled eggs in a car. I'm like, oh, they're Allsup's hard-boiled eggs. Okay, that makes sense.
I stayed up all night cooking those.
But when you finally flipped that switch and you started seeing your world in a different view, like prior to this, prior to your suicide attempt, you saw your past one way, right? Now the story is the same. The story hasn't changed. It's your perception of the story that's changed.
Right.
Like, so prior to this suicide attempt, you saw your story as dark, right?
Very
Weak.
isolated, very weak, lonely, so alone.
Post-suicide attempt, talk about that. Talk about how your story changed in your head.
I eventually realized I was not alone, and I'm not the only incest survivor in the world. And I gained more and more information, but I also got my brain so much healthier. Started eating a keto diet, which made all the difference in the world. So between EMDR and a keto diet and all the things I was doing, my brain started firing in a new way. And then I started speaking, and I didn't know what I had to offer when the first group asked me to speak, which was very odd because I had to learn, and people find this really hard to believe, I had to learn to communicate. I could not communicate because I didn't have that. Nobody asked me my opinion on anything.
Well, think about it this way. If you have a dog in your house, and every time that dog barks and you smack that dog's not going to want to bark anymore, even when it needs to bark when somebody's coming in your house. So your whole entire life, I always have said, and people take offense to this when I say it, but I always said people and dogs are very, very similar in our behavior and the way we're trained in our behavior. You know, the whole Pavlov's dog thing, where, you know, the dog, when he hears the bell ring, it starts to salivate because it knows it's dropping food. We're a lot the same way. You know, you're not allowed to speak up and give your opinion because it's been suppressed for all those years in your home life when you were a kid. So you learn that. It's imprinted on you. You think, oh, my God, if I have a thought in my head, well, keep that shit to yourself because
Absolutely.
you can't get that stuff out. So it makes sense.
I had to completely learn communication skills. I could talk to you or whomever, but I would watch your body language, and I could figure out the answer you wanted by the way you formed your question and your body language. Or I could give it back to you in a different way, like the day that I've told you about where Gary said, how do you like your eggs? And I said, oh, I don't know. How do you like yours? And he said, well, I like mine scrambled. I like mine scrambled. That was all I knew to pare it back because I didn't know how to make a thought. So I didn't know how to move past watching people's body language and responding in a way that I thought they wanted me to respond. So my very first therapist, Marilyn, we worked on this, and I couldn't take ownership of my own thoughts, as crazy as that sounds. So I remember one day she said, this would have been in, 2000. 2002. She said, Sherrie, do you know what a chat room is? And I said, nope. And she said, well, it's a place, I don't think they even have them anymore. You can go and you can talk about knitting, or you can talk about movies, or you can talk about whatever.
OnlyFans.
Whatever. You can talk about anything. She said, I want you to go in a chat room, and I want you to have conversations. And I said, why? And she said, because I that's what I want you to do. Okay. So I think I found one on cooking, and people would interact and ask questions, but I couldn't see them. I couldn't watch their expressions. I couldn't see their body language. I didn't know what they wanted me to say. And for weeks, I never typed a word because I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know what to say. That's how I learned communication skills. Blind.
That's wow. That's I never thought about that. See, I was always able to communicate, but I was always able to communicate other people's stories. Because I read or I'll watch something and I can retain it and I'm able to parrot whatever information's on there, maybe put my own little spin or my opinion on it, but never, you're not going to hear anything about me. Why would I talk about me? I'm the most uninteresting person in the world.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I got nothing of value to say, so let's talk about something else. Let's talk about you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you.
And do you know how fast all you have to do, and you and I are perfect at this, to keep a conversation going, all you have to do to say to the other person is, "How are your kids?"
Yeah.
And then the spotlight's off of you and they take over. And all you have to do is nod nicely and smile. And
Or
you're good.
if you have some people who we've met, you want to have a nice, long, drawn-out conversation, just said, "Why don't you tell me about yourself?" Next thing you know, 2-3 hours goes by. And next thing you know, you're getting thoughts of leopard print underwear. Yeah, stuff like that, you know. So, boy, we've met some interesting people.
You know, and they're not my underwear, by the way. I was thinking about that earlier, the places that we've been just this year. Like, we got paid to go to Hawaii. Who gets to go to Hawaii? Like, I never, ever thought I would go to Hawaii.
I'm still mad that I went there alone. I really am, because I just didn't stay there. By the time I got there, Hawaii was a bad one because it's 6-hour difference from me. Okay, I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was done at 7 o'clock at night, and I was done. I was done at 5 o'clock at night, and
the flight was
14 hours. I was in with airports and stuff like that. It was bad. It was really bad. But you know, so when we go out, and when you switch that paradigm and you go out and speak about this stuff, all of a sudden people want to find out about you, which has to be odd for you because you don't want to talk about yourself. Right? Now all of a sudden people want to find out about you.
Except I do stand up there and bare my whole soul.
But think about that. And when I'm talking about private conversations, but people don't realize that doing stuff in front of people is reality, and it's a real story, but it's not sitting down and having a cup of coffee with somebody and just going through stuff over and over again. It's a much different experience. But people come up to you all the time and they want to know what you think about this and how you think about this. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel?
One of the interesting ones, I think you and I both did Soft White Underbelly this year. And I've been watching my comments very closely and responding to everyone. And I think I'm at 950 comments, which is crazy. One of the last ones I got, the person said, "You are beautiful, and I would love to sit and have a cup of tea with you." What? I'm just this crazy girl. And I just thought that was so nice. And, you know, my response was, I would gladly sit and have a cup of tea with you. You know, people just need somebody to talk to. And
you have information that they have locked inside. You've unlocked that door that they're looking for the key for. And you don't have the magic bullet. You don't have this magic formula in order to get it done.
I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor.
Nope. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Not a therapist, but listen, we do have a really good friend. So
yes.
we can glean information from.
But I'm very careful not to dole out medical advice.
Right.
I ever since I started this show, you know, I've always walked that line. I just will never give you advice on something that even breaches some form of therapy. I'm just going to sit here and tell you a story about, you know, hear a story about from somebody and how they got through it, and maybe you can get something out of it. That's pretty much it.
And I'll tell people, you know, EMDR therapy, I would recommend, but I had a very positive outcome with EMDR therapy that changed my life. So if someone asks me, where do I start? I always say, start with EMDR therapy. Start with a keto diet. Those are the two things I can tell you have profound impact on my life and my brain.
So it's funny you just said that, because a retired LAPD officer just reached out to me on social media, and I spoke with him. His name's David, and he's having a lot of pain, right? So, and the only reason I know about this, because I know the pain that you go through, the physical pain that is manifested from trauma.
Right.
And he's having like the same thing as you. I'm like, just do me a favor. Can you give EMDR a try? And he never did it. You know, there's plenty of practitioners out in California. 34 years this guy did in the LAPD. That's a long time to be on the
Wow.
job. His wife reached out to me first, and then him and I started talking. He went for he's about to go for his first EMDR. Because here's the way I put, I just put out a clip about EMDR. It's non-invasive. It doesn't hurt. It's weird as shit.
It is.
But if you try it and you get no benefit, if you go through the process, you get no benefit, okay, well, you check that box. And before you give up on life, you want to make sure all those boxes are checked, that you tried everything. Because otherwise, you're a phony if you say, I haven't tried everything. So why not? Why not give it a shot? Nobody's sticking you with needles. Nobody's cutting you open.
Mm-hmm. Nope. And try not to question it. I think, I wanted to know why are you putting that in my hand? Why do I need those things on my ears? What? So it was a matter of letting go and letting somebody else do what was best for me. And that was really hard, but best thing I ever did.
I went into EMDR as Tammy. I came out as Kevin. So, I mean, it does change you. It does change you a little bit.
It explains so much.
Obviously, I'm being facetious.
Are you though?
Yeah. Listen, you had to see my picture, my academy picture. But those people that you have touched and you have impacted, do you think you could have impacted them just being that victim that you were?
Oh, no. No, not at all.
How do you think they react to you if you went in there and like you spilled your guts just randomly?
Do you mean?
Like what value would they get out of that?
Do you mean in front of a class or just somebody personally?
Person to person.
Oh, I wouldn't have told anyone.
Well, you did. You did. The woman who came up and said, "I know about your dad."
Yes, my friend Dawn. But we didn't talk about it, and I didn't say the words because I couldn't say the word incest.
Oh.
We didn't have a lengthy conversation.
You said it was like, I know.
It was a mutual. Okay, I don't know why but you're right. Whatever you think, because there wasn't anything that she could have been wrong about. But we're not ever gonna. We can't talk about this. I can't talk about this, and she, we're still friends, and I still forget to say, what made you say that to me? Because that was a catalyst in my life. That was the turning point, a bad turning point, but a turning point nonetheless.
Probably a necessary one, because I think it would have manifested in some other way down the road.
Oh, yes.
Or worse yet, you wouldn't have survived long enough for it to have a turning point.
Yes.
So you have all these people now that come up to you, and you're writing this book,
Crazy.
which we're going to have Dr. Nowitzki in here we're going to talk about that book, because that's going to be a game changer for everything. You went from somebody who could not say anything about your trauma to speaking about your trauma in front of people, to speaking about it in front of larger groups of people, international gigs, to now writing a book where it's going to go out to everybody.
And when I see it in the window at Barnes & Noble's, I'm going to sit on the floor and cry because I am uneducated. I'm not particularly smart. I'm not saying that to...
The only person I've ever heard call you not smart is you.
Well, I don't feel very smart. I don't know my times tables and all those things that people should know. I don't know those things. And when we talked about this book, my first reaction was, oh, hell no. No. I can tell my story, but I don't know where commas go, and When people were taking English class, I was trying to survive, and there's not enough space in my brain to do both. You can't survive and retain information. But there were a couple of times that I hung up and I had to reach out to Dr. Nowitzki, and I said, I tell this story all the time. Why is writing it? Why am I hanging up on that? And as gracious as she is, she had this very educated explanation of why writing it is different. But I'm so proud of what we've done. I think the 3 different parts and just has meshed so well, and I couldn't have done that. I could not have done that without encouragement from you and Dr. Nowitzki. I couldn't have.
Because now you have an opportunity to turn other victims into survivors, because that's the transformation that you want. Not teaching the class. You're teaching the class on how officers are able to deal with these assault victims, but when people come up to you personally, when people reach out to you personally, you're trying to help them turn that channel from victim to survivor, and what's that look like for them?
If we can help people start their healing journey, people don't even know where to go, where to start, what to do, how to take the first step. And the first step is the hardest. So I think just encouraging people, and I've had so many emails and messages, and I know you get them too, of I don't even know where to start, or you're telling my story, or I'm the same way, and I don't know what to do. And they just need someone to point them in the direction of the door so that they can start that journey.
Well, I see people stuck inside their trauma. This is what I see when I talk about, especially my shooting. People will compare their shooting to my shooting. Either it's worse or it's better. And my reply to them is, if you're going to sit here and compare, you're not ready to heal yet.
Yeah, I don't like vying for trauma trophies.
Yeah, and people don't understand that. It's what happened to you was awful. If I compare that about what happened to me, I'd be like, I should just shut my mouth.
Absolutely not.
I should.
And I think, and this is a great question that I would love to have a conversation with Dr. Nobinsky about. As horrific as that is on a female, I think it must be 100 times worse on a male.
But see, it's. I think it's the same. It's just it's the same theater, just different movie.
Yeah, but don't you think there's a difference?
The stigma-wise.
If you have a male perpetrator and a female victim, as opposed to having a male perpetrator and a male victim, I think it does all. I've had conversations with male victims who, question their sexual identity and their it just everything becomes so discombobulated in your brain.
So the people who do, especially when it comes to the sexual assault stuff, when people do reach out to me, I never get this hot teacher in high school slept with me, because I would just go, wah, sorbe, wah. It's always, this man did this. It's always male on male. That's a funny thing. It's always male on male sexual assault, the people that come to me. It's never male on female, which is, I'm assuming, your area of expertise.
And I think both are traumatic, and I think both leave different lingering scars.
Well, do you get that? Do you get male on male people who reach out to you?
I have a friend in Kansas City, a longtime friend, a very handsome man who is a survivor of male on male abuse, and he has been my friend for 20 years, and he cannot move beyond that. He's very successful. He's very handsome. He's a sharp-dressed man, just like the song. And one day he said to me, Sherrie, am I gay? I said, I don't know. Why would you think that? And then it all goes into what we talk about, the bodily functions and how the body responds. And so that all becomes so convoluted in there. And that, for me, and I've had two male perpetrators, that didn't leave me questioning my sexual identity. And I have talked to a lot of females that it does, and they're not interested in being with a male, and that's okay. That's my experience.
I spoke to my friends who are gay. All right, I have spoke to them about this because I was curious. And the things that they tell me, the violation is always the same, whether you are homosexual or whether you are heterosexual. It's a violation of trust. It's an assault. It's a power move. It's got nothing to do with sexuality.
Right.
For the victim or the survivor. My friends who are gay, they said the same thing. It's got nothing to do with that. It doesn't matter. It's not heterosexual or homosexual. It's just plain wrong.
It's power and control.
Right, and that's the message that I relay to people when they come out and come to me, because it's always male on male stuff, and it's horrifying to hear, and it breaks my heart, because I know they've been dragging around this chain for such a long time. But tell me some wins. Tell me some things that because you've become this survivor, tell me some things that have really just lifted your spirits and lifted your soul, and that the fact that you never gave up it makes it all worth it because you're starting to reap the benefits.
It's funny things like I live in Kansas City now, and we have bought this 8 acres with this pond, and the house had been sitting vacant for several years. So the woods were grown up and the weeds, and we had all this outdoor work to do. And I don't like dirt under my fingernails, but I'm trying to be this outdoorsy kind of girl, and I'd rather be inside baking bread or something. So Gary's running the chainsaw, and we're cutting limbs and trees and taking them over and putting them on the burn pit. And we've been doing this, and it's hotter than blazes. And I'm sweating to death, which I hate to sweat. I'm burned to a crisp because this pasty white skin does not tan, it just burns. I have poison ivy because I've been out with my gloves on, but I have now poison ivy that's all up my arms, on my hands, and in my cleavage. So my poison ivy is itchy. I'm under my breath saying, I'm crying, I hate it here, I hate it here. And my grandson, I have twin grandsons. I have 4 grandsons, 1 granddaughter, but the twins are 11. One of them walked up beside me as I'm crying at the burn pit, putting these logs on there with my poison ivy and my cleavage. And he says, "Hey, Grandma." And I said, "Yes." Trying not to let him see me cry. "Yes." And he goes, "Do you know you're famous?" I said, "I'm sorry, what?" And he goes, "Yeah, I just Googled you. You're famous." I said, "Do I look famous?" And I just started bawling. So, you have to stop and think, okay, somebody thinks I'm famous because he was able to Google my name and find me on the internet. And to an 11-year-old, that's a really big deal that I'm famous. So that was funny. And we've done a lot of work. You and I have both done a lot of work this year. So we're popping up now on the internet, which could be good or not. But when people reach out, when law enforcement reaches out, some of the people that we met this year, Chief Pearson, the chief from Joplin, Missouri, pops into my mind. The way he treated us with such dignity, and the people that are highly educated, like Chief Pearson, who want to learn from us.
It's crazy, right?
What in the world? What am I? I can't teach you anything. Sheriff Will, amazing man in Clay County, Missouri, wants us to teach him something. He's got every accolade, every award, everything.
He's a doctor.
He's like a Navy SEAL, I mean, he just has done it all. What can we teach them? And when those kind of people come to you and come to us and say, I think you have something really big here. The New York Attorney General's office, what are you and I doing teaching at the New York Attorney General's office? Come on. When that level of educated people say, every officer in the world needs to sit under you. Everybody, you should be mandatory training. And look at you in your book at Seton Hall that's now mandatory reading. We both think we're just a nobody. And there are people that now are required to read your book.
Administrators. So there's a caveat to that. Administrators who did not like me when I was a cop.
I
was a thorn on their side. Are now doing that. But here's the difference. Okay, all these things and I love Sheriff Will Aiken. He's just a fantastic guy. But he has worked hard to get all these accolades, right? He's worked hard to be in the military. He's worked hard to get his doctorate. He's worked hard to be a professor. He's worked hard to get elected sheriff of Clay County. He's worked hard. What did we do? We didn't have to work to have our experience. As a matter of fact, we would have done anything to work to not have our experience. So there's the big difference. You can't, as hard as you work, you can't have the experience. So you have something more valuable than them. You could obtain a doctorate. You could become a college professor. It would take an enormous amount of work to get there. And I'm not downplaying their accomplishments, but the stuff that you went through, the things that you've experienced, there is no amount of work in the world that would get you to attain that goal. And I don't know anybody that wants a goal to be a child sexual assault survivor.
But what we know is and I'm bringing Dr. Novinsky up a lot because she's taught me so much in this last year. For as brilliant as her mind is, she has said to me, you know things I can never know. Well, I don't know how many doctorates she's got, but she's really smart. And so what you and I offer, the college can't teach in a book. And so that's where I come back to, now I know that it wasn't all for nothing. And that's where I find my hope. That's the drive, that I can do something good with this. Maybe isn't what I might have supposed to have been spending my life doing, but for now and this, I am loving. Like, we haven't worked since November, and I am so ready to get back to work. I absolutely love it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. Spent my career in the medical field, so I've done some hard stuff. This is really hard, but the reward, knowing that it's like a blowing on the dandelion when it's not yellow anymore and it's just the little ball. When you blow on that, I don't know what that's called, and all those little white things, the little white things go out. That's what I feel like our story does. So when we teach a class, we blow on it, and then all of those officers and all of those administrators take that back to where they came from. And so it's not reaching just one person. It's going so far, and that's what I live for. That's what keeps me going.
So, Sherrie, we're coming to the end of this episode.
We just started. I know
we just started. Yep, we are definitely coming to the end. And why don't you throw out a plug? Where can our audience find you?
You can find me on my website, which is just my name, SherrieAllsup.com.
The commercial that they just watched, the brand new commercial that we shot when we aired this, will be airing on this. This is the first time it's being aired. Everybody's getting an exclusive look at it.
Brand new commercial. We did really good this time. Last time we got tickled, and I think that's why Andrew separated us, because I couldn't do it without getting tickled. So this time when we did it, I had to be on my own. I had to be like in timeout. So that will be airing, so you can see Kevin and I talk about our class a little bit. You can find me on my website. You can find me on Instagram. I'm probably more active on Instagram than anywhere. You can find
Don't forget
me on
your OnlyFans
LinkedIn
page.
and my OnlyFans page, because I love my Mike Falaise, who will always be sitting there in the corner. A lot of times you can find Kevin and I overlapping. You'll see me on his social media stuff and see him on mine. So you can sometimes catch me there. You can always catch me on Wednesday Night Live, and usually every morning at 8 o'clock, except that 7 o'clock for me.
I'm not going to get a text anymore that says, just tell me you're okay. Just tell me you're okay. Because I missed the Instagram Live, apparently, but I didn't.
So the last time, not yesterday, but the last time, I didn't tell you I was on a cruise for 14 days. I just got back. Well, I didn't want to tell you because we were doing stuff with the book, and I didn't want you guys to think you didn't have to bother me. In 14 days, I changed time zones 10 times. 10 times.
That kind of makes more sense if you put context into it.
So when I texted you that one time and said, are you okay? We were on like 3 different time zones, and I didn't know what. And then I thought, oh, crap, I hope he doesn't ask me anything, because I don't want to tell him that I'm on a cruise, because then they won't send me my stuff.
It was a very confusing thing, but I'm very grateful. Sherrie, I'm grateful for you on so many different levels. Like, God has blessed you to put you into my life at the right time. It's just this weird world, but it is exactly where I need to be. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
It was a divine appointment.
Because not only have you brought me out with you and done this work, which I feel so purpose-driven to do, you've also turned me personally from a victim into a survivor.
Yes.
And I've done that. I've watched your blueprint on how to do that. And I think that's the strong point in your story for everybody. It is possible to be a survivor if you're a victim.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, we're coming to the end of this thing. You know the final question. Suffering is the greatest teacher we ever had in our lives. It'll teach you things like our stories that you cannot learn in books. So if you think about the suffering of being a survivor, which is a lot more power than being a victim, what do you think it's taught you?
Well, even though I'm a survivor now, there's still the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and I work very hard on letting those go, knowing that I did the best I could with what I had at the time. I still would like to know what I might have been in my life had I been allowed to grow up in a normal, whatever that means, normal life. But listen, I am always the eternal optimist, and there is always hope, and I am going to get better, and I'm going to quit living in the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and I'm going to embrace my survivorship and all that entails, and all the new people that we meet, and all the places that we get to go. And I'm going to just live each day for the fullest.
You're my local hope dealer.
I am a hope dealer.
Sherrie, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure. I can't wait to spend some more time with you when we go out traveling next month.
I'm looking forward to it.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Survivor with with
Now, look out.
Princess Sherrie Sunshine. That's Sherrie Allsup to you. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. We are not used to non-transactional interactions. Our weaknesses often become our strengths. We have to relearn our life one step at a time. We did the best we could with what we had, but most importantly, you're famous because you survived. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.